SuperTalk Mississippi media production. Pike County, here comes your morning show. Dave in the morning on 93.5 FM, SuperTalk Mississippi.
So now, understand, you're not going to dictate to me what I do and what I don't do, but I'm still the mayor, Mr. Brown.
Cheap adhesive isn't holding me. My mouth is a gun I can shoot. I can show you the truth. No pun intended, no punishment. If I offended you, you needed it. Ideas are the bombs in your mind. I'm Fisher in time. If you don't have a weapon, you can't have mine.
None of this meeting is recorded. None by any parties. Correct?
No, sir, mine is recorded. I'm being accused.
Any conversation.
I want to make it on record. I want the allegations in writing, or the accused, or on recording of this harassment.
And now, here's your host, Dave Hughes.
Good morning to you. How you doing? A nice 17-day long Thanksgiving break. It either felt like 17 days or 32 and a half minutes. It depends on how your break went, really. Or if you had a break. Some people did not. Or not much of one, not the same one as others. Whatever your experience, I hope it was fantastic. I hope you ate yourself stupid and then napped yourself smart again. Hey, you laugh. That kind of mindset, that kind of planning, apparently could land you in the White House. Moe's this morning, first shot out of the box. I wonder when President Biden found out he pardoned Hunter. We're going to talk about the pardon a little bit later on, because how can I not discuss that at some point here? I mean, it's not a surprise. No one was shocked. Anyone telling you that they are shocked that this happened is not a very sincere person. Come on. We all knew it was going to happen. But we're going to dig into the nuance on this just a little bit and a couple of details that you may not have caught in the middle of this that I want to make sure you get brought to your attention, because this gets a bit more interesting than a lot of the mainstream media coverage is making it, I believe. Well, if you went zipping up or down I-55 in Pike County yesterday, no, you didn't. You crawled painfully slowly up or down I-55. Holy cow. Now, there were several contributing factors. Of course, the big one on the southbound side, they did have an accident with an 18-wheeler that led to things being blocked off. That'll bring traffic to a standstill no matter what's going on when you got a 18-wheeler across the road. Yeah, it's going to take a minute. Put it in park. Save that leg strength. There's no sense in keeping your foot on the brake the entire time, because you're going to be there for a minute. That's just unfortunate. But we also got the joy of watching what is being reported as the busiest travel weekend in history funnel through single lanes. It's great. Yeah, I know. It's like complaining about the weather, griping about road construction. I get it. If what I have heard is accurate, possibly only one more holiday season to go with everything messed up like this before they're done. No, I'm not joking from what I've heard. I say all that to say this. As locals here in Pike County, we have an advantage that a lot of people using the interstate don't have. We know the alternate ways to get places. You can get from Macomb to Magnolia 3-4 different ways. Only one of those involves the interstate. And right now, and especially through the rest of the holiday season, the interstate is going to be a bit of a roll of the dice. You're not going to know until you get there. And even, wherever you get on the interstate may look great. Traffic humming right along. Everything's going well. And then you top that hill and you see an orderly line of brake lights and you realize, well, shouldn't have done this. You can also just go ahead and take an alternate route. Go the back roads, as they say. Take Highway 51. There are a lot of different options to get places other than the interstate. We've gotten used to it, and it's convenient, and it's easy, and it's fast, and all of those things. Except when it isn't. And right now, that's a great way to describe it. So, keep that in mind. You number one, need to leave a few minutes early if you're headed somewhere, going north or south, because you're going to see more and more people, and that applies whether you're planning on taking the interstate or not, because the interstate, you may wind up sitting there 10, 15 minutes, even longer, as was the case yesterday, if something goes wrong or if traffic is heavy. But as this continues, more and more people are going to start using those alternate routes, which means traffic's going to pick up there, which means it's going to go more slowly than it normally does. So leave a few minutes or give yourself a few minutes extra time. You could very easily thank me for this advice later. You could also say, oh, that Dave talking nonsense again, and be late. It's your choice, really. Free country. You can be as late as you want to be and then deal with the fallout afterwards, unless your dad, the president, pardons you. So this problem isn't going away. Again, yes, an 18-wheeler accident is going to block the interstate for a while. But when you have just one lane of traffic on the interstate, swapping back and forth in a couple of places, just to make sure you're paying attention, it's going to be bad even when it's good. So plan accordingly. Because everybody, I got to see it myself, kind of ducked around it in a way. Really didn't use the interstate yesterday except to the south of the blockage in both directions, because it was blocked northbound as well. It was backed up. It was backed up from the construction zone on I-55 yesterday, almost, not quite, but almost to the Fernwood exit. That's a lot of cars doing 3 miles an hour on the interstate. Right as that was starting to back up northbound, I was headed northbound, managed to get off at the South Macomb exit after just a couple of minutes of it. And then coming southbound, the blockage was north of there, so it didn't matter. So I still got the lightest of tastes of the traffic problems on the interstate yesterday. That was enough. And then the entire afternoon was people on social media posting pictures, talking about it, complaining, and rightfully so, I think, that they were just stuck. They were just there. Nothing they could do, nowhere they could go. You just sit there and deal with it. It's kind of like what happened up in the Northeast. I don't know if you've heard about the weather they're having up there. We got a little cold. Again, we're now between Thanksgiving and Christmas. It better be cold or I want my money back. It's a little beyond cold up there. There are some locations, especially in western New York State and Pennsylvania, that are expecting by this time tomorrow to have received 6 feet of snow since Thursday. Not 6 inches, 6 feet. 72 inches in 5 days. The snow plows and the big trucks, Erie County, Pennsylvania. It's been declared a disaster area because of snow, which sounds ridiculous, but I was listening to the emergency management director for Erie County yesterday, who said one thing people don't realize, our trucks, our equipment to clear this off is getting stuck in the snow. You wouldn't think these big trucks could do that, but yes, they're getting stuck in the snow, so we're having a real struggle clearing this stuff out. When your snowplow gets stuck because it's snowing too hard, you've got issues to deal with. So, they had I-90 up there that was shut down from about midday Friday until late Saturday. Just completely closed. It's still closed to big trucks and vehicles, but it was closed to all traffic, including the traffic on the interstate. There were miles of bumper-to-bumper traffic just sitting there in the driving snow, waiting to have a chance to go somewhere. I said all that to say this. Remember to have some perspective. We had a couple hours blockage and a nice cool day yesterday. Similar circumstances, but a completely different situation to the Northeast. So, yeah, it was a pretty good day yesterday, wasn't it? I think that went well. Yes, I do remember when it snowed in Atlanta. I still remember the ice storm, that last one we had here. It wasn't enormously bad, but it wasn't good. Heaven knows. What was that, 6-7 years ago? I think it's coming up 7 years ago in January, next month. You realize January's next month? 2024 is trying to set a land speed record, apparently. Okay, when we come back, we're going to talk pardons and UFOs. Probably in that order. We'll do that when we return on SuperTalk, Mississippi, Pike County, 93.5.
Shake their heads cause it just can't improve. Let's turn up the music till we're shaking the sky. Is everybody ready to move? Don't miss Dave in the morning, even when you miss it the first time. You can catch it on the podcast. Missing out would be a crime. SuperTalk 93.5 is always the place to be. Wanna get the podcast version? Here, my friend, is the key. SuperTalkPikeCounty.com. It's all there and it's all the rage. Spotify, Amazon, or Apple are just right there on the page. Dave in the morning, late at night, or anytime you have to crave. SuperTalkPikeCounty.com. It's all there and it's all the rage. Spotify, Amazon, or Apple, or just right there on the page.
Hey, Kristen with Selman's Trivia of the Week. Last week's question was, what is the average lifespan of the prongs on your jewelry? The answer? 10 years. Make sure to bring your jewelry in for us to check and make sure your gems are secure. This week's question is, what color gem is a product of heat treating amethyst? This trivia is brought to you by Selman's, your family-owned jewelry store since 1945, 1311 Delaware Avenue, Macomb.
If you would just be sensible, you'd find me indispensable. I predetermined destiny. That place is you with me. Whoa, 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 whoa. Wanting you here in the sheets, wandering around incomplete, waiting so long to feel again.
Welcome back, SuperTalk, Mississippi, Pike County, 93.5. Monday morning. Dave Hughes here. I had fun yesterday. I spent a lot of time going around X, formerly Twitter, and leaving comments on posts from back in the summer. The Lincoln Project had one, said, when MAGA cultists complain about a weaponized justice system, remind them that President Biden has refused to show favoritism towards his son because he has a commitment to the rule of law in our judicial system, regardless of who's involved. I've been going around to a lot of those posts. Wiseman made one of those posts. I left a comment and just said, wow, this really aged well, didn't it? Because now that has completely fallen apart. Now, there are some aspects of this, and we may get into almost tinfoil hat territory here with some of this. However, there are some parts of this that are most definitely not tinfoil hat worthy. President-elect Trump, by the way, posted late yesterday, so does this pardon also apply to the hundreds of people arrested in the January 6th investigation that are in jail and have been in jail for a while? No, it does not. Here is the interesting part about this that I've heard mentioned in a couple of locations, but not many. The actual pardon, which I have a copy of here, it was released with a statement from President Biden. But there's something that I don't know if this is getting enough play. And I think it should. I'm going to read it to you in case you haven't had the opportunity to see it yet for yourself. Executive Grant of Clemency, Joseph R. Biden, Jr. To all whom these presents shall come, greeting. Formal language. We've been doing stuff this way forever because we don't change anything unless there's a buck in it. Be it known that this day I, Joseph R. Biden, Jr., President of the United States, pursuant to my powers under Article 2, Section 2, Clause 1 of the Constitution, have granted unto Robert Hunter Biden a full and unconditional pardon. It goes on to say, and here's the part that should get everyone's attention. For those offenses against the United States which he has committed or may have committed or taken part in during the period from January 1st, 2014 through December 1st, 2024, including but not limited to all offenses charged or prosecuted by Special Counsel David Weiss. So we have an almost 11-year period where President Biden has given his son a blanket pardon for anything he might have done. I saw one legal expert describe it yesterday as one of the most sweeping pardons in history. But why not just for life? Why do you pick January 1st, 2014? That seems a little specific, doesn't it? It's not 10 years, or it would have been December 1st, 2014. No, all the way back to the beginning of that year. I would like to remind you, I would like to point out, in case you didn't know, 2014 was the year that apparently using some connections, Hunter Biden was appointed to the board of Burisma in Ukraine in 2014. So by dating the pardon starting on January 1st, 2014, all the way up until the day the pardon was issued on December 1st, that covers all of the Burisma scandal, the whole thing. It starts before he joined the organization as a board member, entry-level job, all the way up until now. That has been talked about for a while. It's not been talked about much lately. We've had other things on our minds. But that scandal still exists. That seems like an oddly specific thing to do, but it could backfire. Let me explain why. Let's say somebody, not going to call any names, but let's say somebody takes over the country in a month and 2 weeks, and they bring a bunch of firebrands on board, especially in law enforcement, to go after anybody and everybody. Not that anyone would ever do that or say they were going to do it even, but let's just pretend, you and I. So let's pretend that was going on. And you decide, well, I'm going to take my son completely out of the firing line before the new guys get here so that they can't prosecute him for any of this. Because again, the wording of the pardon, a full and unconditional pardon for those offenses against the United States which he has committed or may have committed or taken part in. He can't even be charged with accessory for any federal crime for the period from January 1st, 2014 through December 1st, 2024. So, done deal, right? He's off the hook. Sort of. Let me explain something. The Fifth Amendment of the United States Constitution allows people to activate it, to use it, to avoid incriminating themselves in any type of investigation, any type of testimony specifically. If you can't be charged for a crime, if you can't be held responsible, if you cannot incriminate yourself because, well, you're unincriminatable, to invent a word, does that make the Fifth Amendment unpleadable for that person? Which means if you're brought in, you're put under oath, and you're forced to testify, you got to tell them what they want to know, or they can throw you in jail for any number of things. So, may have opened a little bit of a door there with this pardon. To me, the most impactful part of this, though, and people are making great hay of this, as they should, we have heard for months and months and months from President Biden, from Karine Jean-Luc Picard, whatever her name is, the press secretary for the White House that runs the press briefings on an almost daily basis, that President Biden was not going to pardon Hunter. Not going to do it. Not going to do it. Karine Jean-Pierre has been kind of snipey and sarcastic about it. Every time somebody would ask her over the last 6 months to a year, I have answered this numerous times. We have answered this over and over. We have nothing else to add. No, he will not be pardoning his son. No, that's not going to happen. No, it's not going to happen. Yesterday, it happened. And for the first few days of this week, including today, the press briefings at the White House have been somehow canceled. Unless they're just done until January 20th, sooner or later, someone is going to have to walk back in front of that podium and take the heat, because the heat's coming, because we have had it sanctimoniously ran down our throats for almost a year that would never happen. The president believes in the rule of law. Biden said it himself in interviews. He said it himself in statements that no one is above the law. No one is above the law except for Hunty. So the pious, sanctimonious tone that has been used to declare that they are better than everyone else because they believe in the rule of law has now been wadded up and thrown out the window, and they're going to have to answer for that in the court of public opinion. Now, there's going to be spin, but so far, if you've noticed, the one problem that they're having with the Democratic Party, especially right now at this moment in history, is that they don't know how to spin effectively. Well, they used to, but unfortunately, a majority of Americans finally caught on to the gaslighting that was going on and have said enough. And now the same old tactics, the same old maneuvers just generate eye rolls instead of belief or even benefit of the doubt. You get neither of those at this point. You told us for a year with your nose up in the air and your eyebrow up, he's not going to do that. No one is above the law. He believes in the rule of law. He would not interfere with the Justice Department and their prerogatives in an investigation. How dare you suggest? That's what the other side would do. That was the implication. Well, now they've done it. And now they have to explain that discrepancy between what they said, what they sanctimoniously bragged about and said they believed, and what they actually did. Actions speak louder than words, right? Now, here's the thing. I mean, I get it. 80-something-year-old dad, I'm going to use charitable language here, a mess up of a son. He's a mess. He's always been a mess. None of this is new. He had the opportunity to help him. He took it. Now, we could argue that either direction, just on the personal basis of it. Some people would say, no, he needed tough love. Let him go to prison for a few years. Others would say, it's a dad. He can help him out. He's going to help him out. You can argue both sides. Both sides have merit. But on a purely personal level, you can at least understand the decision. You can understand where it came from. Come on. But on a political level, on a professional level, there is no understanding it. There is no explaining it. There is no hand waving it away. And gaslighting is going to be completely ineffectual on this one. You don't get to proclaim proudly and smugly that the other side has no adherence to the rule of law and claim over and over and over as an example, look, my own son's going through legal trouble and I'm not going to pardon him, and then turn around and pardon him. Those two things don't jive. They never will. So no matter what the personal reasons were politically, and we got 30 seconds on the clock in the fourth quarter for Joe Biden as a politician. He's done. He's on his way out the door. They've already started packing stuff into cardboard boxes at the White House by now. It's over. He does not have another day left to fight for politically. And he knows that, so he doesn't care. End result, he doesn't care. But now he's created an additional problem, especially for all of these people who have spent all their time running around explaining how much better the Democrats are than the Republicans. Because here's a distinction that you won't see. Here's something they would never do, and that's not pardon their son for bad crimes, not even the worst of the crimes he's accused of, just bad ones. We would never do that. President Biden will never pardon him because he believes in the rule of law. President Biden has pardoned Hunter Biden, and we will have no press conferences this week. Thank you. You can exit at the rear. Yeah, it's not gonna fly. But you do realize the way this pardon is worded, it covers everything that would be a federal charge. Note that distinction. A federal charge. Anything to do with the laptop can't be prosecuted for it now. However, the president is only allowed to pardon federal crimes. State crimes? Yeah, we're still on the table. We're still ready to rock and roll there. But all of these things that have come out about Hunter Biden over the years, the laptop allegedly full of child porn featuring him as a guest star in it, by the way, no federal crimes can be prosecuted against him for that now. They could walk in tomorrow and plop it down on the lectern in the Senate and ask everybody to come up and go through it if they'd like to verify what's there. Doesn't matter on the federal level now. That's how sweeping this pardon is. And that's a problem. Chris says, word on the street is Hunter bumped into his dad at Thanksgiving, knocked him over, and said, sorry, Dad, pardon me. And the rest is history. That's as good a working theory as any. There's another working theory, by the way. There's another bit of rumor. We're going to call it rumor, even though I got it from a fairly reputable source that does have contacts at the White House even now, that Hunter told his dad over the Thanksgiving break that he had written a book. And his dad said, well, now let's not be hasty. Before you publish that thing, before you put that thing out there, why don't I just go ahead and give you a full pardon? And then we can just forget that book exists. How about that? That's the rumor. And that is under the heading of rumor/conspiracy theory, whatever, until and unless it is verified. Now, here's my question for you. Does this also open up the Biden administration, Joe in particular, to now use Hunter as the landing point for any additional accusations that come up? Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, Hunter did that between January 1st, 2014 and December 1st, 2024. Hunter did that. That was all Hunter. Have to go talk to him. And then Hunter, with no fear of repercussions, when they go talk to him, can say, yeah, I did that. That was me. I did that. By the way, I've been handing these out. I don't know if you'd like one. It's a copy of my full and unconditional pardon for any and all crimes I may have committed, participated in, or been a part of during that period. Would you like this? Now, what were you asking? Oh, yeah, I did that. What about it? Gives them a scapegoat, doesn't it? Now, this is conspiracy theory level. I understand that, except that legally, there's a lot of basis to it. There's a lot of truth. And something that leans into that is, why on December 1st? He's president for another, 7 weeks? We have always seen a lot of last-second pardons on the last day of a presidency. That's almost a tradition at this point. But we decided December 1st was the proper time to do it. Now, either didn't want to have the opportunity for Hunter to contact an agent with his book, or wanted to have as much cover as possible. Did some research, by the way. I was just curious. Talking about the subject of pardons. I mean, the all-time leader presidentially in granting pardons was Franklin Delano Roosevelt, but he served 3+ terms. You would expect that. He issued 3,687, which is the all-time leader in pardons. There was only one president who gave, two presidents who gave no pardons. William Henry Harrison and James Garfield. It's only two presidents that didn't issue a pardon. George Washington gave 16. This goes all the way back to the beginning, guys. All the way back to the Founding Fathers. Pardons were a fact of life. Donald Trump, during his last term, of course, we don't have the full stats yet on the Biden presidency, is still going on, but Trump gave 237 pardons. He pardoned 237 people. Barack Obama pardoned 1,927. George W. Bush pardoned 200. Bill Clinton, 459. Are you picking up a difference between Republican and Democratic presidents here, by the way? Papa Bush, George Herbert Walker Bush, 77. Reagan did 406. 406 for Reagan, 1,927 for Barack Obama. A little bit of a difference there. James Monroe pardoned more people than Trump did in his first term. Andrew Jackson pardoned more people than Trump did in his first term. You know who else pardoned more people in his time as president than Donald Trump in his first term? Abraham Lincoln, who pardoned 343. So pardons are something that happens. They happen a lot more from Democrats than they do from Republicans. And that's not guessing. I got the list. I got the numbers. So yes, the fact that he pardoned Hunter, there are a lot of different aspects. You're like, well, it's business as usual. That's expected. Why would anyone be surprised at this? But in this year, of all years, where we went through the entire charade of being told that Biden was sharper than he's ever been, sharp as a tack, he's fine, everything's fine. Oh, wait, no, turns out he's gone. There ain't much left in there. We got to swap to somebody else. Call Cackles McGee and get her in here. We need to put her at the head of the ticket. Oh, no, there's no need to let anybody vote on whether or not they want her. We'll just tell them she's the best option. So we have a pattern this year of Democratic leadership telling people one thing and then either doing something else or later on having to admit, well, it turns out we were lying. So when it comes up after 6, 7 months, a year of President Joe Biden and his staff repeatedly over and over and over and over insisting that there's no way President Biden will ever pardon his son Hunter. And then on a Sunday evening, he says, well, you know what? Changed my mind. I'm going to pardon him. If we didn't have all of the previous stuff to deal with in terms of the Democratic Party and the Biden administration lying through their teeth and then getting caught at it and having to admit it, it might go down a little differently. But that's one of the big sticking points of this entire thing. So you lied again. Not surprising. Not shocking. It's not even disappointing at this point. It's just, well, it's ridiculous and it's sad that they think they can still keep using these same techniques over and over and over, and they'll work forever. Of course, up until this year, they had. That is another good point, Chris. Great point. He might have went ahead and done that because he's getting ready to step down. We talked about this. If you remember, it would not surprise me if Biden steps down so that Harris can be sworn in as the first female president in history and mess with all of President Trump's merch. Because if he steps down, if Biden steps down, and Harris gets sworn in for a month, then Trump would be 45 and 48, not 45 and 47. So all the hats with 45-47, all of the t-shirts and koozies and fanny packs and everything else being sold with those numbers on it, well, they would then be inaccurate. It's the kind of petty nonsense, to be fully honest, I would pull. So, yeah, but you've got a great point you make there, Chris. He could be getting ready to step down, so he needed to go ahead and pull the trigger on the pardon while he still could, because Cackles McGee might not be able to sign her name. We don't know at this point. We will continue on SuperTalk, Mississippi, Pike County, right after this. Keep it here.
Believe for it, sacrifice it, all for it. My soul still stirs, and I still burn. Even when they think I'm at my end, I get up again.
Hey, Kristen with Selman's Trivia of the Week. Last week's question was, what is the average lifespan of the prongs on your jewelry? The answer? 10 years. Make sure to bring your jewelry in for us to check and make sure your gems are secure. This week's question is, what color gem is a product of heat treating amethyst? This trivia is brought to you by Selman's, your family-owned jewelry store since 1945, 1311 Delaware Avenue, Macomb.
Don't escape in the morning, even when you miss it the first time. You can catch it on the podcast. Missing out would be a crime. Super Talk 93.5 is always the place to be. Want to get the podcast version? Here, my friend, is the key. SuperTalkPikeCounty.com. It's all around, it's all the rage. Spotify, Amazon, or Apple, or just right there on the page. Dave in the morning, late at night, or anytime you have the crave. SuperTalkPikeCounty.com.
Weekday mornings at 6 after 9 on 93.5 FM, or you can catch up anytime by going to
SuperTalkPikeCounty.com.
Dave in the Morning at SuperTalkPikeCounty.com. Catch up and catch on.
It starts with
One thing, I don't know why. It doesn't even matter how hard you try. Keep that in mind. I designed this rhyme to explain in due time. All I know, time is a a valuable thing. Watch it fly by as the pendulum swings. Watch it count down to the end of the day. The clock takes life away. It's so unreal. Didn't look out below. Watch the time go right out the window. Trying to hold on to didn't even know, or wasted it all just to watch you go. I kept everything inside, and even though I tried, it all fell apart. What it meant to be will eventually be a memory of a time I tried so hard and got so far. But in the end, it doesn't even matter.
You would be forgiven if you missed it, but we had our yearly earthquake on Friday.
One thing, I don't know why. It doesn't even matter how hard you try.
I think it was Friday, wasn't it Friday? No, it was Thanksgiving Day, actually, Thursday. We had our earthquake of the year. We average one earthquake a year in Mississippi. This one was in Madison County. Yes, that's up there very close to the volcano under the Coliseum. But that's dormant. We're not worried about that. But we have one a year, a lot of them, the majority of them up in the north part of the state, the Delta, and all the way across the north part. We've had 3 down on the coast, and for parity's sake, we've had 1 each in Hancock, Harrison, and Jackson counties. Now, it's been a while. What was it? 55 for Harrison County, 75 for Hancock County. The earthquake recorded in Jackson County was, I had to double check, 1853. The closest to us, though, probably here in southwest Mississippi, back just a few years ago, Covington County had an earthquake in 2021. That's about as close as it comes to here. Had several in the Jackson area. We've had 4 over the last 20 years. Really, the last 11 years. So it's not that unusual on the grand scheme of things, but it is unusual. Oh, now see, we are shaping a finely crafted tinfoil hat. Chris says, okay, let's say Biden did the pardon because he's going to step down and install Cackles McGee as the commander-in-chief. That should terrify you, by the way, just that concept, just the thought of that. But you can mess up a lot of stuff in a month. But they install her, and the first thing she does as a short-term, never going to be elected ever, so not a lot of political future she's trying to protect. She pardons everybody that is on the Epstein and Diddy lists. Just issues the same kind of blanket pardon for all of them. At that point, she would be president. She could do that. Because a president can, for federal crimes, can pardon anyone of anything. We got that just painfully proven to us yesterday with that sweeping, unconditional, full for everything he even maybe thought about doing that was wrong over the last 11 years, pardon of Hunter Biden by Joe. So it's a possibility. Because that has been a talking point. The new choice to run the FBI, Kash Patel. I'm sorry, you look at that man's eyes. I think he's a great choice. I think he'd do a really good job. But you look at that man's eyes. He's the kind of guy that's going to sweep everything off of the Thanksgiving table and scream if he thinks the mashed potatoes are too clumpy. I mean, you get that impression. You see that look in his eyes. He's got that little bit of wildness. Well, it's not even a little bit. He's got that wildness in his eyes. He's got a little bit of the cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs in there. He has said, Trump has said, everybody involved in the incoming Trump administration has said that they wanted to release the Epstein client list, wanted to declassify the Diddy list, declassify the JFK files, everything. So, You can't 100% categorically say, no, that's not going to happen. Look at this year. Look at how this year has unfolded. How can you look at anything, any possibility, and say, well, that'll never happen? This has been an entire year of, oh, that did happen? Oh, that's the best way. That's how this year will be described in the history books. That chapter is going to be titled, "You're Not Going to Believe This, ... So, yeah, that would fit right in. Why not? Let's put Cackles McGee, attorney at law, into the White House and let her pardon all the people that might get in trouble just because they were doing horrific things. And then go bray laughing off into the sunset on January 20th. You can't say no. By the way, don't want to get out of here before I mention this, just so you can be prepared. While we've got our tinfoil hat on, Chris says he's got extra strength tinfoil on today. Probably not the worst idea. It's a guy named Cliff High. He came up with a series of programs actually back in the late 80s, early 90s, and started working with language and things people say and patterns in language. Well, once the internet got under full steam, he adapted it into that and made predictions. He predicted a lot of stuff based on the chatter, if you will. He correctly predicted 9/11. Perfect example. Well, he has another prediction that I just want to put on your radar just for the heck of it. This was way back. He made this prediction like 30 years ago. Based on word usage and chatter and everything else. And again, he's been right several times. Not 100%. Nothing is 100%, but he's been right several times. Said that there was a trigger event. When the trigger event happened, 39 days later, we would have a UFO invasion on planet Earth. The aliens would invade 39 days after the trigger event happened. The trigger event, this prediction was from like, I think 2000, 2001. The trigger event was Joe Rogan interviewing Donald Trump. At the time the prediction was made, Joe Rogan was a host of Fear Factor, and Trump was just a business guy that had never run for anything. It made no sense at the time. Closing time. And then it happened, and quite possibly helped Trump win the presidency. I know it helped him. But I say all that to say this. 39 days from the Trump-Rogan interview? Yeah, it's tomorrow. So bow up. Get ready. I hope they're more like E.T. than Alien, if we're talking movies. One of them does a much poorer job of trying to eat your face, so I'm going with that one. Thought I'd leave you with that happy thought. Have a wonderful day. You, me, and the aliens will do this again tomorrow morning at 9:06. My friend, I'll see you then.
SuperTalk Mississippi Media Production.